The principal called an assembly and said, "One of you sent threatening messages to a teacher." We traced the IP address. The entire auditorium went silent. Principal Dawkins was standing at the podium with 2 police officers behind him, and he looked angrier than I'd ever seen him. Someone in this room sent death threats to Mrs. Gilmore over the past 3 weeks. Detailed, violent, horrific messages about what would happen to her and her family. She hasn't slept in days. She's terrified to come to work. His voice cracked. We traced the IP address to a device registered in this school's network. The officers are going to escort the responsible student out right now. He paused and looked down at a paper in his hand. Then he read a name. My name. Every single head in that auditorium turned toward me. I felt my face go numb. The officers started walking up the aisle toward my row. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. My best friend Dylan was sitting next to me and he grabbed my arm. "Dude, what did you do?" I didn't do anything. I'd never even talked to Mrs. Gilmore outside of class. The officers reached my row and told me to stand up. My legs felt like they weren't connected to my body. I stood anyway because what else could I do? They walked me down the aisle in front of 400 students. I heard the whispers start immediately. Phones came out. Someone laughed. Someone else said they always knew I was weird. Mrs. Gilmore was standing by the exit door and she flinched when she saw me. Actually flinched, like I was going to hurt her right there. I wanted to scream that I didn't do this, but my throat was completely closed. They took me to the principal's office and sat me down. One officer started reading me my rights, while the other pulled out a folder. They showed me screenshots of the messages. They were disgusting. Threats about her kids, her husband, her home address. Whoever wrote them knew details about her life that I didn't even know. I told them it wasn't me. They showed me the IP trace. It led directly to my school-issued laptop. My parents arrived 20 minutes later. My mom was crying before she even walked through the door. My dad looked like he wanted to disappear. The principal explained everything while I sat there feeling like I was watching my life collapse from outside my body. Dylan showed up next because his mom worked in the front office. He asked if he could wait with me, and they let him sit in the corner. He kept giving me these looks like he felt sorry for me, but something about his expression seemed off, too calm, too curious. The officers said they needed to search my locker and my backpack. I told them to go ahead because I had nothing to hide. They came back 15 minutes later with a printed list of Mrs. Gilmore's personal information, her address, her husband's workplace, her kid's school. The paper had been folded and stuffed inside my chemistry textbook. I'd never seen it before in my life. My mom started sobbing, harder. My dad put his head in his hands. The principal said this was looking very serious, and I should probably get a lawyer. That's when I remembered something that made my stomach drop. Dylan had borrowed my laptop last week. He said his was broken, and he needed to finish an essay. I let him take it home overnight because we'd been friends since 6th grade. I looked over at him in the corner. He was staring at his phone, typing something. I said his name, and he looked up with this innocent expression. I asked if he remembered borrowing my laptop. His face flickered for just a second. Something dark passed behind his eyes before he smiled. "Yeah, I used it for homework." "Why?" I turned to the officers. "He had my laptop. He could have sent those messages." Dylan laughed. "Bro, seriously? You're going to blame me?" Everyone looked at Dylan, then back at me. The principal shook his head. This is exactly why guilty people always try to point fingers, but I couldn't let it go. I asked Dylan why he'd been so calm this whole time, why he asked to sit in on this meeting, why he was the first person to show up when he didn't even need to be here. Dylan's smile faded. "Because I'm your friend. I'm supporting you." Something cold settled in my chest. "No," I said slowly. "You're watching." The door opened, and the school's IT coordinator walked in holding a laptop. She looked confused. "Sorry to interrupt, but something strange came up when we pulled the device logs." She set the laptop on the desk. "The threatening messages were sent from this student's laptop, but they were scheduled using a third-party app. The app requires a separate login." She pulled up a screen. "The account used to schedule these messages is registered to a different email, not his." She pointed at me. The room went quiet. The principal asked whose email it was. The IT coordinator typed something and turned the screen around. "It's registered to someone named Dylan Mercer." Everyone turned to the corner. Dylan's chair was empty. He was gone. The officers ran out the door. I heard shouting in the hallway. They found him trying to leave through the gym exit. When they brought him back, he wasn't smiling anymore. His face was red and twisted. He looked at me with pure hatred. "You were supposed to take the fall. You were supposed to finally lose for once. Perfect grades, perfect life. Everyone loves you. I just wanted to see you destroyed." I stared at my best friend since 6th grade, the person I'd trusted with everything. I didn't even know what to say. They searched Dylan's house that night. They found a folder on his computer with months of research on Mrs. Gilmore, screenshots of her social media, photos of her house, a detailed plan to frame me and destroy both our lives because he was jealous. Dylan got expelled and charged with cyberstalking and making criminal threats.